And on the day the train finally got there, they decided to have one last foot race. But they threw in an element from the game of chicken. And the test was this. The 5 little boys stood at the back of the train. And when the train took off, they waited to see which boy would chicken out first and run and catch the train. And you know how trains are, right? They start off slow. And the 5 little boys were waiting. And then finally, one little boy took off like a shot and ran and caught the train. And now the train's going a little faster. And 2 more little boys took off like a shot and ran and caught the train. And now it's just little Juan and his friend. And little Juan looked at the train, he looked at his friend, he looked at the train, looked at his friend. And finally they both took off as fast as they could and they ran. And they could barely touch the guardrail at the back of the train. But they could not grasp it and they fell over in a heap. And little Juan looked up through his tears and he could see the train disappearing into the horizon. And his friend stood up and he laughed at Juan. And Juan looked at him and he said, "What are you laughing at? There goes the train. There goes your family. There goes my family. We're never going to see him again." And his friend said, my cousins live here in town. I'm going to go stay with my cousins. And he left Juan lying on the train tracks. And little Juan stood up and he looked around to the Baja Desert and he dusted himself off. And he did the only thing he knew to do, which was to chase that train. And he did. Barefoot through the Baja Desert, he ran and he ran and he ran and he stopped and he looked at his feet and his feet were bleeding and he cried and he rested and he did something his grandfather had taught him to do, which was how to extract the juices from the cactus in order to survive and keep his body hydrated. And he spent a cold, miserable night in the Baja Desert. But he woke up the next morning and he walked and he ran and he walked and he ran. And 24 hours later, he got to the little village where the train had stopped. And when he got there, he began to ask around, "Have you seen my family? Have you seen my family?" And at first people said, "No, we haven't seen them." And finally somebody said, "Yes, they're over there." And when he saw his mother, he ran and he jumped into her arms and his mother scooped him up in her arms and used a term of endearment my mother still uses for me to this day. "Mijito, mijito, my precious son, how did you get here? Es un milagro. It's a miracle. How did you get here?" And little Juan, all he could do was hug her and cry because, you see, even he himself did not realize how he had gotten there. And when I thought about that story, I thought, wow, that's motivation. That's motivation. And I wondered, what if I had offered little Juan a big hunk and gold medal and said, "Juan, what I want you to do is run barefoot through the Baja Desert with no food, no water for 24 hours. And if you do that, I'll give you this medal." Would that have been enough? And somehow I think no. But Juan did it. Why? Because he had a big enough reason why. He had a big enough reason why. You see, it's not enough to have a list of goals.